Welcome back to Mindful Moxies. In this episode, we uncover how true authenticity means sharing your real feelings with kindness without masking them behind anger or using honesty as an excuse to hurt. Let's go!
Be mindful of yourself, be mindful of your wealth, be mindful of your health. You need it, just take a breath, it's your life. Live it, be your best, stay box free with your mindful moxie.
We are your Moxies, guiding you through the messy, real, and empowering journey of personal growth. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Moxies. We are extremely excited and grateful to be here with you for another week. My name is Adrianna Foster.
And I am Luly B. Carreras.
And we are your Mindful Moxies. We designed this space to shed light into the messy realities of growth and give you a toolbox to experience life from a place of clarity, courage, and grace. Luly and I have a lot of experience working with women for the past, I've been doing hypnotherapy for the past almost 15 years. How long have you been working with women?
You really want me to tell you the number? Over 20, girl.
Over 20 years.
God.
She's the pro.
It's a long time.
but she started when she was 5.
That's right.
So she's 25. So we have a lot of experience in our own programs and working together. We collaborate a lot. A lot of our clients go to both of our programs.
That's right.
And we are also besties. And we partied hard at some point.
At some point in our life, we sure did. And we also hire one another.
Yes.
I think that's
important.
like a very big one too, right?
Very big one.
Very, very big one.
Yes.
Which is so cool.
Amazing. Yeah. So this is why we brought together our friendship, our experience, our partnership, and we decided to build this beautiful space so you can be a mindful Moxie as well. So we're so excited. We've had incredible feedback. Thank you to all of our listeners and followers. We love you. Follow us on Instagram. You're going to see all of the credentials here on the screen. Follow us on Instagram, both our profiles, but also Mindful Moxies, and we are super happy.
So happy.
How do you feel?
There's so much joy in my heart. So much joy in my heart.
We've been wanting to do this for a while.
For a long time.
And this is what, our 5th episode? No. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5th or 6th. I don't know. I don't even remember. It's somewhere along those lines. But we are very happy. And today we have a great topico.
Great topic.
Tell us.
You want me to do it?
Yes.
I'll do it. All right, I see the camera. I'm
Drum
so
roll,
focused
please.
on you. So authenticity, is that a permission to be an a-hole? All right, so let me break this down. We are living very much in a society, in an era, in a time so beautiful, right? Where we're hearing the word authenticity. And we're hearing words like embrace your authenticity. I mean, Adrianna and I both in the work that both of us do.
Both of us.
Individually and together talk a lot about embracing your authenticity.
Yeah.
But, we've talked about other words like grit. We've talked
hustle,
about potential and hustle,
potential.
Balance, right? Like words that are that are misunderstood or misused, misrepresented. And we find that's the truth for authenticity. So here's what we're witnessing is going on with the word authenticity. I can go to the supermarket, somebody speaks to me in a way that I don't appreciate, and I snap at them and tell them off, and maybe even use an ugly, nasty word in my rant to them or of them. And as I share that experience, I get to say, well, I was being authentic. Maybe I'm giving somebody feedback. Somebody says, did you like the cake I baked? And I said, not really. I didn't. And I'm just being honest. Well, here's the thing about authenticity is being authentic does not mean, and it is not a permission slip to be a jerk. It's not a permission slip to be disrespectful, to be, not empathetic or compassionate. And I think we get to just, I know you guys think I don't like the word balance, but I can appreciate the word balance when it's used correctly.
I was going to say, when you use it for what it truly means.
When you use it for what it truly means. And in this case, I think the word authenticity is one that we get to kind of, we've swung the pendulum so hard to one side of like, well, I was just being myself. I was just being authentic. No, you were being a jerk.
Yes.
You were being an a-hole. So I know that, Adriana's the self-proclaimed root queen. She's going to get us down to the root of what this nonsense is of, I was just being myself. Well, you could be yourself, but not such a big jerk, right?
Yes.
So let's break it down.
1,000%.
Help us understand, my friend, what's the true definition of authenticity? And then how do we get to say the truth?
Right.
Because I think that's the bottom line, right? I would like to believe, right? And I'm a little bit more of a dreamer when it comes to this stuff. I would like to believe that most people are genuinely good and they're doing the best that they can with what they have. And the people, the little examples that I gave, I would like to believe that those people are doing the best that they can, but perhaps we can provide them some insight and some perspective of why this permission slip should be ripped up.
Absolutely. I love when we were designing this podcast, this was my favorite one. Because I consider myself an authenticity architect. This is actually like if I give you my card or I send you an email, my signature will say authenticity architect because that is my expertise. This is what I do. And not because I took a lot of courses or any authenticity certification, but because this has been my path of how I've learned how to live life. And one thing that I can tell you is that authenticity has nothing to do with being rude or with protecting yourself from feeling rejected, uncomfortable, and justifying your own uncomfortableness with lashing out to other people. And this is a very important topic, and this is why we wanted to do this, and I was so excited about this, because it has come to the point where in part, some people in our society are using it as a shield to protect themselves from what they're really feeling. So in order for me to explain what authenticity really is, I need to break it down into parts first. First, let's understand what anger is. And bear with me, okay? I know it's going to sound really weird, but I promise you I have a point. Anger and frustration is the army of our emotions, right? When we feel something that we don't know how to feel or that we don't want to feel, like pain, loss, rejection, all of those icky emotions. If we are not taught to experience those emotions, if we don't live in an environment, in a family environment where we are allowed to feel those emotions and are taught the proper tools to navigate them,
which are 99.9% of society.
99.9% of society, 100%, right? Most of all of us, right?
Right.
We learn how to protect ourselves from that vulnerability. And what we do it most of the times by being angry. This is a famous fight or flight, right? So fight is anger. Flight is we shut down. Right?
I almost picture, like you said, like the army, like doom.
Yes.
Doom.
1,000%.
Here comes anger.
Yes. If you have watched Inside Out 1 and 2, my favorite movies, my favorite movies in the world, watch it. Anger protects, fear protects sadness. This is, and then embarrassment, right? So when we become angry or resentful or we are just plain rude, is because we're feeling something that we don't want to feel. Right. And unfortunately, authenticity or not authenticity, the concept of authenticity has become an excuse for us to actually be inauthentic, for us to actually disconnect and evade what we're truly feeling and not be honest with our response. Now, you are not being an asshole because you want to.
Yes.
You are a jerk because you're in pain.
Yeah.
And because you don't know any other way to be when you're in pain, to process your pain. Period.
Yeah.
So what is authenticity? Authenticity is your internal truth, is your identity, is the code of who you are and the ability to live a life aligned with your truth. But your truth will always, always, always be wrapped with love. There is only one emotion in this world, which is love. A lot of people say that there's two emotions, love and fear, but that's not true. It's love. And fear is love forgotten.
That's right. The absence of
love and pain. Right. So happy people don't hurt people. Hurt people hurt people.
That's right.
But happy people don't hurt people. So when you see somebody that's being rude to you or you, because I've done it. We all done it.
Right.
When we are snapping at people or whatever, and we're like, well, this is my truth and I'm just being authentic. No. You're actually being inauthentic. You're actually not expressing what you truly feel in the moment. And you are protecting yourself and you're giving yourself this justification that is actually not cool. Because in order for us to be authentic, we get to embrace our graceful feminine, which is if I want to communicate something and I want to be understood, I have to pay attention to what the other person needs. Otherwise, I'm going to be by myself. If I don't want to get my point across, then I'm just going to say it however I want to be. And nobody's going to understand me.
That's right.
Does it make sense?
Totally.
So that's why it's important to understand, where does this come from? Now, if you have experienced snapping out of people or just being brutally honest, right? And you hurt the people around you, or people have given you this feedback, I truly invite you, first of all, to not judge yourself. Second, to ask yourself the question, what is this really about? What am I really feeling? What is this emotion really trying to tell me? Do I really think that her cake sucks? Or am I triggered? Do I not feel well? I maybe don't like this person. What am I really feeling? Because when you tap into that, you will be able to know your truth. And your truth, when you are aligned with it, your authentic self will always, always drive you to express yourself with grace and kindness towards others.
And I think that that's something that you've taught me among other people in the space. When we're judging, right, it usually tells us something that we maybe do not like about ourselves.
Yes.
Or something that we wish that we had.
Yes.
Or that we embodied, right?
Yes.
Let's use the example of, I don't like this cake. Maybe you tried a cake business and it didn't go well. And now...
And you're hurt because of that.
And you're hurt because of that.
And you feel like a failure.
Right.
Or maybe this is so great that you brought that up. This is what I call the mirror effect, right?
That's
So
right.
the mirror effect has 3 points in which we identify ourselves in other people or in triggers. When you don't like something about someone else, is something that we want to do and that we don't have the tools, we don't have the permission, or that we try to do and it didn't work for us. The example of the cake. Number 2 is something that we are doing and we are not aware of. So the necessarily apply in that. But if I see somebody and I'm like, oh, that's so obnoxious, is probably because I am in some way as obnoxious and I feel guilty about it. I feel shame about it, or I'm just not aware of it. And it bothers me in an unconscious way. Or the third is because that person or that situation reminds me of something or someone in the past that I still have pending wounds to heal. So let's say I don't like the cake because my mother used to bake cakes like this and I still have issues with my mom, or pain that I haven't expressed, or boundaries that I haven't set with my mother. And it triggers me. And all of this is in an unconscious level. So it's really hard for us to identify it. Now, what we can do is identify that we're not being kind, and without judgment, ask ourselves, what is this really about? What am I really feeling?
And what about this is upsetting me so much? And
Exactly.
Can I get curious?
Curious.
And that's why I love that word, right? And I think in big, bold letters, without judgment.
Yes.
Right? Without like, oh my God, here I go again. Why am I so dramatic? Why am I so... No, you're not anything. You're human.
Right.
And that's something that you've taught me as my hypnotherapist, right? You reminded me, like, all the times that I was like, why am I crazy? And like, what are the people that don't do the work? I remember one of our toughest sessions during some really, really dark times in my life.
Yeah.
That, it was a hard session with Adrianna that I had. And and I said to her, I'm like, well, what are the people that don't do this work? Like, why am I doing this? This is like, I want to throw up. Like, this is terrible. And I have a headache. And she reminded me that the people that don't do the work do not live the joy and the freedom that you get to live once you've experienced this level of clarity and authenticity and awareness. You know, so much of what we're talking about is awareness. And I don't know, I want to caution you. I want to remind you that this isn't about things that are wrong with us, right? Because I know some of you are maybe hearing some of these episodes and it's like, oh my God, I have so many things to work on. And that's not what this is about. This is about the opportunities for clarity. You know, we kick off every episode where Adrianna reminds you that this is to equip you and this is to empower you, right? To have a life of grace. And so much of grace means no judgment, means opportunities for growth so that you can have that clarity and that awareness. That's what this is about.
Beautiful. Yes, and yes, and yes. I 100% agree with you. And if we think about our businesses, right? Like when we are authentic in our businesses and we create brands that are maybe a little disruptive, right? That we go against the grain. And I love that. I love to disrupt. But what I have learned is that you have to disrupt with kindness.
Yes.
With grace. No one in this world has a right to be rude or a jerk or disrespect anybody. I don't care if you have the right to speak your truth.
That's right.
You don't have the right to disrespect anybody. Now, if you do it, that's fine. You know, nobody's going to stop you. But be aware that can have severe consequences.
That's right.
In your life, and also severe wounds open to your heart, because that's not, I promise you, that's not who you truly are. So if you're watching this and you are that person that you're rude and unkind to others, I promise you that's not who you are. Mm-hmm. You are hurt. You're in pain. You need to connect with that pain. And if you're watching this and you have somebody in your life that is being kind and rude or unkind or rude, or you know somebody that is like that, I promise you that's not who they are.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that you don't get to set clear boundaries.
Right.
And you don't get to also, with grace and authenticity and honesty, express how you feel.
That's right.
And
that's right.
It's a thin line, but
yeah.
we get to learn it.
And I think you bring up a really good point, is that authenticity also does not mean that we give people permission to be a pushover or a people pleaser, because that can also be true for some of us, right? Where it doesn't give you the permission slip to be a jerk or an a-hole, but it also doesn't give you permission to feel this burden of having to please everybody, to be a people pleaser or a pushover because I want to be authentic.
No, 1,000%. It's actually the total contrary.
The total opposite.
When you truly tap into your authenticity, when you heal your wounds, when you unlearn the things that you learned in the past that told you that you were something that you're not, when you remove your survival patterns that are getting you to become what your mother wanted, what your father expected, what society validates or loves, when you remove all of that, you will find your truth. And your truth will feel easy, graceful, and beautiful, and joyful. There is no other greatest feeling in the world than being yourself. So when you get to that point, you truly, genuinely don't care what other people think. We were just having this conversation that I was telling Luly. I genuinely don't. I'm not in that. I don't care what you think about me, because that's pain. No.
That's right.
I genuinely don't care. And I wish you well. But it's not even in my purview, because I know who I am. And that's what happens when you step into authenticity. Authenticity, just so you know, I don't know if you know this, but there is a research in Germany that I should have totally gotten the data, but I will put it in the screen, or we'll send it to you.
Or in the show notes.
Or in the show notes.
Yes.
There you go. That they thought for many, many years, it was thought that the highest frequency vibration of the human being, the human body, was love. And it's not true.
Oh, wow.
The highest frequency vibration is authenticity.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And look it up. Don't believe me.
I
look
love
it up.
when you tell people hashtag don't believe me.
Hashtag don't believe
me. Look it up.
Look it up, because, when you are aligned and connected with who you are, when you release the need of protection, when you embrace your vulnerability and you understand that your power comes from within, you are vibrating in the highest frequency possible ever, which is authenticity. And I promise you, and every time I do a keynote, I say this, authenticity for me could be the root of peace in the world. Because if we all experience life from this beautiful high vibrational frequency of happiness and joy and fulfillment and sovereignty and freedom, we genuinely want the best for other people.
Yes.
We're not going to want to hurt anybody. We are not going to engage in any lower level frequency conversations or drama with anybody. We're going to want the best, and we're going to be really good at setting boundaries because we're going to want to protect that experience. And that comes from healing trauma. Being an a-hole or a jerk is pain, is a trauma response. I promise you, when you allow yourself to heal, you will step into this authentic self and you will not want to go anywhere else.
And I love this because, again, the opportunity is, okay, I'm being a jerk. I'm being an a-hole.
Yes.
I said something really mean.
Yes.
Let's take a breath.
Absolutely.
And you heard me, let's get curious. Yes. Let's not judge. Let's not be like, my God, I really was a jerk. Why do I do that all the time? No, it's, okay, I responded in a way that I'm not proud of. Let me think about this. Where in my life did I experience this? And why am I responding in this way? Right? Oh, it's from that. Right? I mean, I'm happy to quickly share, the turkey stamp Luly story, right? When I was 5 years old, I was in a gymnastics class. I've always loved to dance ever since I was little. I was that little girl that always had shows and I did choreographies and I'm so grateful that I had a father that would turn off the Miami Dolphins football game to watch his little girl do a fashion show followed by a Gloria Estefan number, followed by, because we had like 3-4 different things because never won because you go big or you go home.
Oh, exactly.
Clearly. But at 5, I was in a gymnastics class and this teacher said to us, today we're going to be doing handstands. The girl before me, she must have been a couple years older than me just because she was taller than me. So I'm assuming she was probably like a year or two older than me. And she just, she puts up her hands in this beautiful V. She does this, what I learned a few minutes later is called a tripod. And then she extends her legs and does this beautiful handstand. And the teacher applauds and then looks at me and says, Luly, now it's your turn. And I remember at 5 so vividly thinking, I don't remember being taught this. I don't remember the steps. I don't remember the lesson. Maybe I was absent. And I looked up at my teacher and I said, I don't know how to do a handstand. And she looked at me and she said, well, you are a big fat turkey.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ.
And back in the 80s.
Every time you tell me the story, I get goosebumps and I want to punch the teacher in the face.
And I'm grateful for the teacher. I mean, I want to punch her, but I'm also grateful for her. Maybe after we punch her.
I'll punch her and you're grateful.
And
how about that?
And I'll tell you why I'm grateful in a minute. But, so we would have these cards because this is before computers, right? And we had these attendance cards. And on my attendance card, we would always have little stars or happy faces and scratch and sniff stickers and stars that glittered and cute stickers. And that day I got a turkey stamp I was branded a turkey and it was also placed on my hand.
Jesus Christ.
And I said that story for years. I said that story and I even laughed about it. Like this lady, again, jerk, right? Which was a woman in pain. And that's another story for another day, right? And I would like to believe that she thought that she was going to inspire me. I don't know what world that would be, but there are people that think that they inspire by doing that, right?
Yeah.
But I think through that experience and through my healing journey, especially through hypnotherapy, what I realized is I spent so many years of my life wanting to prove so badly that I'm not a turkey.
God.
And I set up scenarios and situations and experiences unconsciously and subconsciously to prove this to people, that I fell further and further away from my authenticity.
Yes.
All in the name of wanting to prove that I wasn't a turkey. So that's the reason why I'm grateful. I'm grateful for her because she gave me she gave me this incredible experience. And of course, and I learned this during the dark days of my divorce, that there was a connection there of the pain of my divorce was really the pain of little Luly, which, Adrianna and I, when we're doing our work together, we call her Turkey Stamp Luly.
Turkey Stamp Luly.
And really for me, the reason why I'm sharing this very vulnerable story of my own experience is what I realized in my own authenticity journey, that because I wanted so badly to prove that I wasn't a turkey, because of that trauma, because of that experience that I had, and I didn't even realize it was a trauma.
Right.
Right? I think that was the other piece, right?
Totally.
That for 3 decades, I created experiences all in the name of wanting to prove myself and wanting to be in a path where I would not be in a situation, and I would make sure to protect myself to never be in a situation where I would not be humiliated, where I would not, it gets me just choked up talking about it, right? I would not be humiliated. I would not be called out, and I would never be in a situation where I didn't know. And then what did God and the universe give me? Gave me the incredible gift of what I experienced 7 years ago so that I could close that loop and finally find my authenticity and live the most incredibly joyous life that I have today. Woo! And by the way, P.S., it doesn't come free of challenges, or tears or pain.
The challenge and the pain is the gift.
1,000%.
Because it's when you had an opportunity to identify the single most important piece of information that you could have ever known. I built my life based on a survival pattern. A survival pattern is what our subconscious mind will make us do to protect ourselves. In Loud Women Nation and what I teach, it's called the self-worth system. So Luly had a self-worth system of, I feel shame. I am going to make sure that I always know everything. So I'm never unprepared. And I never feel that shame because I am not good enough, because I am a turkey, which is I'm not good enough, right? So what this experience of pain your divorce gave you was the ability, and probably, Luly, if you think about it in the past, you probably had several opportunities to get deeper into this. But the problem is that we get so... It's like we build a building and the building is so big that you build on top of this self-worth system, toxic self-worth system, survival pattern that you're like, how the fuck do I turn the building down? And
I'm committed to building that crazy ass building.
Of course, because if you don't build the building, you're going to feel like Turkey Stamp Luly. And for a child to experience pain and shame is a near-death experience. What this teacher gave you was a near-death experience. And your subconscious made sure that you would never be in danger again. Yeah. But what the subconscious doesn't know is that when we're adults, we won't die from these experiences. We will not. And that's what you learned when you got divorced. You did not die. So you opened the door to these very rooted, traumatic feelings that were stopping you from being fully authentic. And maybe, because you shared with us vulnerably in other episodes, maybe the passive aggressiveness or the snapping at people, that was your pain.
1,000%.
That was your pain talking. And when you were able to connect with that little Turkey Stamp Luly, you told her, oh, no, sweetie, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And look at you now. Look at you now.
Look at me now. Because now I get a permission slip to be awesome because I'm living in my authenticity. We ain't doing no permission slips to be jerks.
No, not anymore. We are going to do a part 2 of this episode.
Okay.
We have to.
Yeah.
Because this is amazing. Thank you for being with us in this another episode of Mindful Moxies. I hope that we have inspired you to love yourself deeply, no matter if you're showing up in your truly authentic self or you're protecting yourself through anger and being rude. We love you, love yourself, and find that wound, because when you do, you will also find your treasure. You will remember who you are, and your life will feel amazing. And that's what we're here for you.
That's right.
See you next week.
Bye.
Mindful Moxies.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and visit mindfulmoxies.com to connect with us. See you next week.
Of yourself, be mindful of your wealth, be mindful of your health. You need it, just take a breath, it's your life. Live it, be your best, stay box free with your mind.